just to let you know or give you an insight into how things are going on the field, we have Ferdinand Usakwe reporting live from Edo Central. He's at Central Primary School, Ward 4. It says accreditation and voting has commenced. So let's join Ferdinand now to hear from him how voting is going down in Edo Central. Ferdinand.
I'm at Central Primary School in Irekwen, Eastern West Local Government area of Edo State. I actually arrived at this venue at about 7:45 a.m. this morning. Amazingly, men and materials have been on the ground waiting for the set time, 8 o'clock on the dot, to begin accreditations and voting. And I tell you, at 8 o'clock on the dot, the INEC officials have begun, giving orientations to eligible voters who, of course, have come to the venue. I tell you, at the moment, voters are beginning to trickle in to decide their franchise, and it's hoped that as time goes by, more voters will come.
Thank you, Ferdinand Usakwe. I told you so. I told you so that voting and accreditation has commenced. I mean, within the time frame allocated by INEC, 8 o'clock voting accreditation is to commence, and that has been the story across some of the centers that we have monitored so far, and we hope that it stays that way. That's the reason you need to come out and cast your vote. If you just join us, you're on to the live studios of independent television and radio coverage of the Governorship and State Houses of Assembly election 2019. Now, gentlemen, let's just scale up a little bit. Some have said in the Governorship and State Houses of Assembly election, the battlegrounds are mostly in the South, and particularly in the South. I mean, the feelers that we've been getting from Cross Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Rivers State has been very disturbing. Massive deployment of security agents to those states, and then there have been allegations and counter allegations of attacks. In fact, on Wednesday night or so, I got a report of the attack on Chief Ateka Tom's residence, where it was alleged that someone was shot, 3 dogs killed. Those are the stories coming in. So, so the battleground really is the South. Prof, let me begin with you again. Yes. Well, yes.
3 things. Election is either civil or violent. 2, look at South. These areas you have identified.
Yes.
They have very prominent politicians who simply believe that for them, now, this year, it is bloodshed, it is do or die. Thirdly, build up to today, many Nigerians have been reading from the media, social media, mainstream media, about the movements of some talks into those areas. Just last night, 3 a.m., you know what happened in one of the states in the South, that the INEC office was bombed. Now, how did those people have access to the building? They said they threw dynamites. How did they have access to the building to even throw dynamites in without the presence of security personnel around that area? It was after it happened, they were now saying they are deploying more security personnel to safeguard the place. That happened in Akwa Ibom. Now, the major thing that we should note today is that South, in the past, elections have been very civil. Civil in the sense that you find people conduct themselves peacefully to go and cast their votes. But somehow, in the past 4 years, the situation has changed. The main political gladiators in the South have now moved to another political party. And for that reason, they still believe that they have claims over what they used to have when they were in the other political party. And so, whether by crook, whether by force, whether by die, whatever means, they still want to grab power. And it is completely wrong. It is wrong because election, which is part of politics, which is part of democracy, is popular participation. It is not by violence. It is not by bloodshed. It's not by killing. Let the people decide by popular will those that will vote for them. You see, when you force people to say, okay, this is what you want to do, and then you use forces at your disposal to ensure that you get what you want, the end will not be good for them all. And I strongly believe that time will come in the South-South. People will say, look, the result of what we have is not the true reflection of the votes cast. And therefore, we want to revote. This may lead to something else. So let us warn them. Let them also be aware that they're not dealing with people they're not dealing with animals in the zoo. They're dealing with human beings who have feelings, who believe strongly that these are the people that will lead them. Let them decide on that without any problem.
All right, so Adam Saliu.
Yes, we talked of South-South. Those states is part of South-South, as it were. But the real focus is on Niger Delta, Southeast. One, these areas are very vulnerable. They are highly inflammable. If you go back from the Civil War, it was the Eastern region that was declared supposedly as a Republic of Biafra. So militarism has since started. When you talk of Niger Delta militant, it's all concentrated in that area. It's now part of the modus vivendi, their way of life, to militarize, to fight. That is one. Two, the politicians there, you see two friends, governor and minister, they are now fighting for supremacy. Very prominent there. They regard it as personality conflicts. And each one has his own army or brigade to use as sacrificial land. We are not happy at the deaths recorded there. The invasion of Fateketon's palace, as it were, the reason we are told was that he must have been vicariously liable to the death of a political party chieftain, and loaded loads of troops when they armed to attack an unarmed king or palace. Well, it is good for the soldiers to go to maintain order and discipline, but if it becomes intimidating and embarrassing, the civilian population does not have its own army, does not have brigade, does not even have Boy Scouts. So what will they do? So, but it is true that the Constitution allows policemen to maintain security, backed up by soldiers in case of standby being necessary. But when people are terrified, it is not the best for democracy. So we can now feel unhappy that lives are being lost in the South-South, specifically Niger Delta and Southeast region, because policies ought not to be do or die affair.
All right, Prof, the talk is that the outcome of the presidential and National Assembly election is fueling some of these issues in these states. Let's get your thoughts along those lines.
Yes, you're right. You see, it's like, Nigerians, from what I've read is in social media, you know, people talking and all that and all that. And naturally, I don't think they were satisfied with what happened in the presidential election that took place on 23rd of February. They are not too happy in view of the outcome of that election. Perhaps they have this feeling that a particular candidate whom they believe they massively voted for is supposed to have won the election. So I think that apathy, you know, now setting, it's like saying, hey, even though I go out today to vote, they have decided the result already. You know, that attitude. So I think it's a dangerous trend in our democratic experience and process. Reason because democracy ought to evolve over a period of time. And we are looking at Nigeria as a project, you know, in our democratic experience. So what we're saying in essence is that by the time we start to have all these hiccups, you know, in the process of trying to install a credible democracy that will build up the nation and make Nigerians enjoy the dividends of the democratic experiment. You see, by the time we start to puncture, you know, this process, then we're in danger, because it's like some party chieftain, I don't want to mention any party here, they will boast and say, any of you can do what you want to do at the polling station, but at the end of the day, we shall know who will win the election. We've heard statements like that from very top party officials, you know, of one of the major parties. Okay. So it's not the best, and that explains what is happening in you know, in Niger Delta and all these other areas. The attitude is, hey, this federal might, you know, we have it, and we're going to use it against our opponent and all that. You know, they must respect us. They must. So you see, by the time we start to do all that, you know, we are raping the whole idea of democracy. We are killing democracy. You see, it's supposed to evolve over a period of that Nigerians will not be seeing the beauty. And the more they see the beauty in terms of dividends of what they are enjoying, the more people will like to do what? To participate. And over the period, we now extreme what you call a democratic foundation. Yeah. And Nigerians will be better for it. And the country will make more development, more move in terms of economy, our social-cultural thing, you know, and there will be this unity among Nigerians. But by the time you start to distort the process, I think it's a very dangerous trend.
All right, Prof. The thinking also is that some state governors are under pressure, you know, find it particularly difficult to deliver their states at the presidential election. This election probably is another litmus test about their popularity and ability to be relevant in the scheme of things. I'd like to get your thoughts on those too.
Yes, before then, let's look at it from the South-South perspective. Nigeria has 6 geopolitical zones. The whole of South-South, we are minorities. North Central, minorities. Whether God designed that, we have no idea. And in each of these zones, there are politicians who are seeking relevance, particularly those who are governors, or those who are ministers, or those who are identified as national leaders of political parties. And the last election, you will see, for example, a pattern where the Director General of the presidential campaign of a big political party could not even win his own state.
Exactly.
The national chairman of a political party could not even win his own state. Now, the question is relevance. How relevant are you? How popular are you in national politics when you cannot even move your own state along, which means you don't have the support and sympathy of your people in your own state. Now, if that taking comes up, that is where you see those leaders at the national level putting pressure on governors. So please, let us deliver. Let us make sure that this can happen. On Tuesday night, for example, I don't know whether you are aware, some group of persons from a particular part of this country, in fact, particularly from the north, they moved to the southeastern part of Edo State, Uronigwe. They were interviewed. What are you doing here? Preparing for another round of bloodshed or what? They were all fully armed with daggers and all kind of things. This is the kind of relevance they are seeking for themselves, to destroy people, you know, to ensure that they are able to do what they want to do and become relevant. And I think that is not the pattern of voting. One thing I want to quickly say here, because we are talking to Nigerians. Our constitutional lawyer is here, barrister. Nigerians have not taken pains to look at Section 23 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It talks about national ethics, where we talk about discipline, talk about integrity, talk about dignity of labor, we talk about self-reliance, we talk about religious tolerance, we talk about patriotism, and so on and so forth. When we put all of these together, you can see that you can get your relevance in politics through discipline. You can get your relevance in politics through integrity, not through violence, not through bloodshed, not manipulating the process to make sure that, yes, you still have relevance, and the people can still come to you and say, yes, you are a leader, you are a leader. Our leader is there. Who is the leader that is there on the platform of bloodshed or what? So that is what Nigerians actually are about. We don't want it. Let us play politics the way it should be played. Popular participation does not require bloodshed.
Yeah.
It simply means that let us be civil in our approach. If you are a leader, talk to your people, convince them. One thing that has been missing in this year's general election is that no political party or its leadership has come out to identify issues and discuss how they will solve Nigeria's problems. It's all about sloganeering. Go to the campaign, slogan, 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 insult, insult, insult. Is that what Nigerians want now at this moment? Certainly not. What we want is how to rebuild our country. What we want is how to build the future of this country. What we want is integration. What we want is development. How are these parties ready for it? Surprisingly, for example, in some states today, you have in a particular state as many as 70 governorship candidates. 70. So how do you identify relevance within those political leadership?
70.
70. No, yes. A particular state has 70. Others 35. Others 40. It has not been.
But isn't that the beauty of democracy?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not. It's not. I don't agree with that.
Let me proceed there. let me proceed there. If you just join us, once again, we thank you for being a part of our live studios on the coverage of the 2019 election, particularly state governorship and House of Assembly polls. And just in case you have something of interest you want us to share or be abreast, keep our audience abreast with, you can use the eyewitness number on the screen. Take a picture or take a short video and send it to the number on the screen, 0803 0803 872679, 0803 872679. The number is on the screen. And for calls, we entertain calls with the number 052 290 573, 0802 250 573. So you can use either of these numbers, just the same way we have identified them, to be able to reach us on the program and contribute to the program, so we have depth in terms of the spread of the issues as they unfold on the field. Okay, just to keep you abreast with the fact that 29 governorship seats will be decided today. In 7 states, the governorship election will not take place. But across the 36 states of the Federation, including the FCT, State House of Assembly election will take place. And that means in Anambra, Bayelsa, Edo, Ekiti, Kogi, Ondo, and Osun states, they will not be participating because the governorship elections will hold at different times. Of course, you are very familiar with how all of these came about from court judgment in the days of yore. That's why we have staggered elections in some of the states. But just to take you now to Ondo State, Akure to be precise, Omowa Jonah is reporting from there, and he says accreditation and voting commenced at Esau Ward 10, Unit 11A and B in a federal local government area of Ondo State. That's the picture from Ondo State, and as you can see, the exercise is ongoing, and you can see the number of people looks a bit better than what we saw or what we've seen in some of the voting centers, even in Benin City. We hope that this number will definitely increase as more and more people come out to cast their vote. But the exercise is going on peacefully. Materials arrived at voting centers early enough. Officials also arrived early enough. We haven't heard any reports so far of materials coming late, or the officials nowhere to be found, or the officials missing action. They are on the ground carrying out their civic duties, what is expected of them. And of course, accreditation is going on, and accreditation, after accreditation, you vote. That is the pattern for this election, gentlemen. after accreditation you vote. So there's no question of when you're accredited, you have room to leave and then you come back later. So that's why some have raised some questions about some of the outcome of the election result. But that's not a matter for today. We'll look at that another day. Yeah, but yeah.
If the card reader is working fine,
yes,
and then you're able to identify the number of votes accredited, you can only identify the number of votes that have been cast, and then the one that are invalid, and then the one that are valid, and who won and who lost the election.
Okay.
But most card readers are not functional. That's the problem.
That's where the problem is. Yeah. By Senator Salih. And then in terms of functionality of the card readers, we heard stories of fire incidents, some of the INEC offices, Uyo specifically, and then, but we also heard INEC saying they've made replacement for some of those card readers, And then in Bayelsa State was a report of missing card readers, about 63 pieces. I'm sure that INEC also would have done justice to that to make those card readers available to fill up for them.
They don't use card readers at all.
Okay,
The card reader issue was a novel phenomenon. It was developed by Jega. And now that we are using it, it may not be all perfect. And there's a provision for manual if the card reader fails. So I think we should be optimistic. And here in Edo State, most of them.
But we've heard INEC say no card reader, no voting. That's the rule. No card reader, no voting. That's what INEC says.
Because that's the development.
Yes.
I would like to retrospect on what Professor Yewere said, that maybe people, the turnout may not be very impressive because they are unhappy about the last election, thinking that whom they voted for did not win. Democracy is predicated on majority rule. The legal maxim is ubi major, minor cessat. Where there's majority, the minority withdraws. So if you voted for somebody and the people by your side, in that people voted for that person, you don't know how people voted in Maiduguri, in Lagos. So
what's the quality of the majority?
Excuse me. So it may not be
the quality of the majority.
So it may not be safe to assume that those people we voted for in a unit, that very candidates did not win the election. Therefore, you have to be unhappy or apathetic.
Are you saying there's no rigging in Nigeria?
No, I have not said that. I'm only making a point that let's take Edo State from home. In 2015, many of us here in Edo State, we voted for a particular person. That person did not win presidential election. 2019, majority of us in this very Edo State voted for somebody. That person did not win presidential election because votes to make somebody president, the votes are not accumulated and decisive only by Edo State. Okay,
Ambassador Salih, you know, some of the thoughts that you've expressed now, they are subjective.
Exactly.
Yes, they're subjective.
They're also
if you engage them, they sound subjective. Yeah. So let's leave it at that.
Okay, let it be at that.
Yes.
So the issue now, we talked of card reader,
yes.
That is a technical development, and INEC has ruled that no card reader, no voting. Meaning that wherever there's manual voting this time around, the vote should be discontinued.
Yeah,
I'm disturbed seriously because the last presidential elections, especially most parts of the north, they didn't observe the card reader thing. And ab initio, INEC would have known that, especially in a very important election, presidential election, you know, they ought to have applied the rules and say, look, no matter where, because it's like those in the south, you know, they were compliant with this card thing, and INEC ensured. But how come the other part of the country, you know?
Was it proved?
Yes, of course it was proved. It was proved.
It was vetted and proved.
Yes.
Okay. All right, gentlemen. Let's stay on course. Let's stay on course.
No. Just the point we are making is that, you see, some of these problems we're having now, after all, a particular political party has gone to court. You know, one reason, because some of these points were, because they are also anchoring and they are going to court based on some of these irregularities. I'm on the floor. Irregularities. So what we are saying is that INEC, if you say if any election, any polling booth or unit where car reader was not used, the election should be inconclusive. Simple matter. Then they should apply it across the board.
Okay.
That's what we're saying. So that at the end of the day, Nigerians will be happy that yes, the rules were applied and the outcome of the election will be generally what? Accepted. That's the point we're making.
Okay.
That's the point we're making.
As a matter of going to court, I'm very happy as a constitutional lawyer that people resort to court. That's the civilized way of doing things. As far back as 1979, Chief Obatemi Awolowo went to court. If you lose an election, you go to court. 83, he contested again and lost. He went to court. President Muhammadu Buhari, over 3 times he lost election, 2007, 2011. He went to court. So that's the civilized way of doing things, and we are hoping that justice will prevail. Laws should not be taken into individuals' hands. The civilized way of doing things is to go to court. It's apart from noble President Jonathan in 2015, who refused to go to court. He's the only one. Every other presidential candidate normally goes to court. And
Okay, so that's a set pattern and a tradition.
You go to court since 1979.
Okay, let's talk about governance at the state level and the fundamental role of the state legislature. A great disservice was something you raised earlier when we started this conversation, that at the amendment of the Constitution, most state houses of assembly voted against their own autonomy, which was intended to win them from the clutches, so to speak, of the executive. Let's look at that as a challenge in deepening democracy and making governance more meaningful and impactful to the people.
Well, what that simply means is to look at the concept of good governance. And by implication, the role of the House of Assembly, that is the Parliament, and the role itself of the executive, led by the governor. The governor has resources at his disposal to ensure meaningful development of the state. But he cannot do it on his own because of the kind of model of representation that we have in Nigeria. Take, for example, before I continue, early this year, an attempt was made to impeach Governor Ambode of Lagos because they said he started using resources without sending his own appropriation bill to the House, which means something had gone wrong. So, in which case, even if the governor has good intentions, he needs the approval of the House of Assembly. And that takes us to the functions of the House of Assembly. Number one, which is very basic, is the making of laws through the bills that they pass. They work in committees and so on and so forth. But the second aspect, which is very important, is the issue of controlling the finances of the state. Most members of the House of Assembly that we have elected in the past, they have no idea that they are expected to control the resources or the finances of the state. The first step is the appropriation bill. To look at the state budget and say, look, this is what the governor is saying he wants to do. Let us see whether he can do it within the resources available to the state. If that is true, which particular amount of money has been allocated to a particular sector for the purpose of development, that is not the business of the executive. It is the business of the House of Assembly to scrutinize and see how things work in the interest of the state. But many of them who are in the House, they have no idea of this function. As far as they are concerned, the governor sent in an appropriation bill, the next day it is passed into law, it is approved, the next day the governor signs.
They are working together.
They are working together. That is completely wrong.
No crisis.
It is completely wrong. You see, and that takes me to the quality of people that we send to go and represent us from our constituency. What is the depth of their thought and reflection on issues that borders on the finances of the state and good governance? Now, the third aspect, sir, has to do with the control of government, ministries, departments, and agencies. And that is why commissioners, and that is why even the governor himself will need to send his own report on the decision of the House to the members to explain what it has done within a particular period. Occasionally, you see what I'm described as window dressing. Call the commissioner for education to come and brief the house. Call the commissioner for finance to come and brief the house. Call the commissioner for this to come and brief the house. They just do it to show that they are performing that particular function in governance. It's wrong. In the real sense of the word, it is to enable them understand what are the challenges of government and how the House can assist them to address the challenges. But it's not so. This is because of the same quality of representation we have had in the past. A fourth one, for example, is every member of the House of Assembly has a responsibility to his constituency. But in this Fourth Republic, in the past 20 years, we have had it in a different way. The only responsibility you see there is take your constituency fund to go and build a borehole, to go and build a maternity ward, to go and construct one road, to go and do one thing or the other. It's not so. Lawmaking does not give you that responsibility to go and start building. You go and build town hall, go and do this, go and provide it, go and provide that. It's wrong. What that means in governance, in advanced democracy, is that this is your constituency. For example, I come from Oriomo South. What is the nature of the network of roads? What are the facilities that we need in that particular constituency? If I'm in the House of Assembly, I'm going to ask questions. And so I will ensure that in the next project, I have my proposals to government to be able to influence development in my constituency and ask government to integrate it in the budget. When it comes to the House, I will lobby my colleagues to support me to approve all of those proposals. That is exactly what they're supposed to do, but they're not doing that. Finally, because others are going to talk on it, you see, the House of Assembly is not supposed to be made up of just an entire political party. You need a powerful opposition.
Exactly.
Whether they like it or not, you need a very powerful opposition to put you on the toes, to say, look, what you are doing is right or what you are doing is wrong. Opposition in Nigeria today is classified as an enemy. If you're in opposition, you are an enemy. If you're in opposition, you are this, you are that. It is completely wrong. Let us begin to educate people, and even politicians themselves, that whosoever is in opposition. You remember, for example, some time ago, a member of Edo State of Assembly won a case in court from Edo North. And it took, I mean, even not months or years, for him to be sworn in by the speaker. Simply because he belongs to an opposition party. It's not so. He should be gladly accepted. Let them listen to his views. Let them see the kind of person he is. And then let us see how he's able to contribute to the development of Parliament. Finally, I thought I said finally before, but now finally. finally. You see, all of us here would have noticed a particular trend in our state parliaments. The struggle for power. To become speaker, to become deputy speaker, to become a majority leader, to become minority leader. The struggle for power. Acrimony, disunity, bitterness, infighting, even death. It's wrong.
Okay. Let me pause you there finally. Let's get your thoughts on strengthening governance at the state level using the legislature, as it were, because it looks like many people have said, they have made rubber stamps to the executive, and that's, for most analysts, is unhealthy for democracy.
Yes. Congress, in the U.S., the state houses of assembly are called congressmen. Very powerful organ of democracy. You are representing your people. As he highlighted, you ensure that whatever is missing in your constituency is incorporated into the annual budget. Then you lobby it. So, but here now, congressmen are merely tied to the apron strings of the executive. Everyone wants to belong. And we have witnessed the drama and melodrama of people seizing the mace, fighting to be speaker, so that somebody, a cartoonist, used it as an illustration that if you want to win election, go and learn how to do judo and kung fu because you have to jump to the window. So we hope that victory will stop this time around. And they are representatives of the people. They should not turn themselves to kung fu fighters and the rest of whoever. And we often see the changing of the leadership so often, which ought not to be. I remember one particular fellow in Lagos who was a speaker for 10 years. We've forgotten his name now, recently, for about 10 years. But here it's changing, even up to the National Assembly. So that ought not to be about the bickering. The more we realize that you are there to serve, not yourself, but others. It changed. It will be fair to retrospect that our earlier leaders who fought for independence and the rest, they didn't have estates named after them. They were not millionaires. But now, a congressman today is quite different from what he was 6 months ago. He may have been managing a rickety vehicle, but once he comes to Congress, he turns to a millionaire. We should try to emphasize the over-ambition of people should not be paramount. And we should even prosecute and investigate. This EFC should investigate people as to the sources of wealth.
Okay. Professor Ijewere, in terms of governance at the state level, the argument has been that where you don't have a stable House of Assembly, it becomes difficult for the state executive to function and deliver the dividends of good governance to the people. I'll come back to you on that point.